Welcome back to another week on the Pagan Perspective. And this week we are talking about ways to cope with stress and the feelings of isolation, those sorts of things, especially in today's time period when we are dealing with the pandemic. And this time of year is the time of year that traditionally students would be going back to school, teachers would be going back to school. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It's a time of huge changes and newness our in our society, and where there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of background stress, that chronic stress going on. So we're talking about general strategies and specific practices that we can share for dealing with those kinds of things in our life. So let's start by saying that I think that there's often this idea of the physical and the spiritual as being separate. And I really don't think that those are two separate realms. And I think that the more that we see them as being connected, the more empowered we can be with that. And so the first step that I would encourage folks to really, really take pause and think about, do some real reflection and priority setting on, is the self-care element. And there are some foundations to that to think about. There is the diet element, the nutritious diet, making sure that you are getting what your body needs to be able to do all of the work that it's doing, the physical work of being the body, even the work that the brain is doing, which takes a lot of the energy that we have, making sure that you've got all of the micro nutrients that you need to be able to, for your immune system to work properly, to build your body with, not just focusing on whatever those macros are, whatever your particular strategy is with that, but knowing that you're really getting nutrient dense foods. Personal favorite of mine would be liver. And I know some people don't like the taste of that, but you can sneak that into a million different things if you're creative with it. Or if you enjoy the taste, then with some kale, apple, and some sauteed onions, it's delicious. But anyways, making sure that you're getting that is a huge, huge part. And I think that the role of food, that's something that we've talked about in other parts of this, but the food is a huge part on the spiritual front. And then also making sure that that food isn't food that's going to make you sick, and that isn't high in poisons and other things that you personally might be sensitive to. Different people's bodies have different needs in terms of their sensitivities. So the food aspect. This is the next one is absolutely huge, and our whole society is greatly lacking in it, and that is adequate sleep. Healthy sleep. And I am not the best best model for that right now. Having young children, I am chronically sleep deprived, but that has helped me to recognize how important it is, right? I know about it from an intellectual level, but I can also tell you from an experiential level that the sleep is incredibly important. And not just like having one bad night's sleep. We notice that, but we stop being able to notice the chronic. We don't perceive that anymore from the personal level, although people looking in on us can see that. And so enough sleep and quality sleep is unbelievably helpful. This is when our immune systems are doing the bulk of their work. This is when our bodies are repairing themselves. This is when our brains are rearranging information that we've taken in. This is the processing time, and it is so key. And as a culture, we incredibly underslept, and we have very poor sleep. So I'd really encourage you to look into sleep and sleep hygiene. Check out the stuff about artificial lights and all of that, and maybe learn your chronotype. Do some research for that. And also know that it is mostly a myth that there's certain people who the 6 hours is sufficient for. There's a very tiny, tiny fraction of a percent of people who carry a particular gene. But anyways, I will leave a book suggestion in the description below for anyone who wants to dive a little bit deeper into that. The next is exercise. Getting some form of exercise, and when we're stuck at home, that can definitely feel like a huge challenge to overcome because we're not going out and physically working with our bodies or going out into the world and playing, you know, frisbee in the park or something like that. But getting some sort of exercise in is, again, it's one of those steps that it's amazing the difference that that makes. And that might look like something as simple as saying that you're going to do 10 squats and 10 push-ups, and maybe just jump up and down a few times, multiple times throughout the day, and just see how that changes how your body feels. Or it could be like a full-on exercise or workout, which you're on YouTube right now, so you know that there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube that you can use for inspiration or work along with. And then this last one ties into what most people would think of as being the spiritual more, which is the stress management and the practice element. So developing some sort of, or returning to, or strengthening some sort of meditation or mindfulness practice. And I think that this can be as simple as a grounding practice, where multiple times throughout the day, you just take a moment. This could really be a minute or even less than that, where you ground, where you just take the moment to breathe, to become aware of the area around you, the space around you, and be present for a moment. If you have an altar or a focus that you work with, returning to that on a daily basis can be fantastic. And of course, the big practice that, hey sweetie, I'll be done in just a second. The big practice that I really, really advocate for is sun time, star time. So we are out doing a little bit of early morning sun time, where we just get out in the sun and be present with it. And we'll step into the actual sunlight in a moment here, and get some sun on our skin and just be aware of the world. And then star time, and this is a beautiful time of year for folks who are in the northern hemisphere to be out at night. We just had the Perseids, which are actually still visible right now, even though they have technically peaked. And there are about a dozen major ones throughout the year. Meteor showers, that is, although there are several dozen that you could actually spot. Almost any night you'll be able to see a meteor if you're patient enough in a dark area. But getting outside for just a few moments during the night. So sun time and star time, I think that alone would make a tremendous difference for anyone who is really struggling with the weight of everything that's going on in the world right now. So those would be my 4 pillars of areas that I think that anyone in any walk of life could really benefit from. And going back over that, that's really mindful diet. That's the sleep, which actually I should have said first of any of them. Hang on, sweetie. I'll be done in just a second. The sleep, exercise, and some sort of practice like the mindfulness, meditation, star time, sun time, that sort of thing. So I need to hang out with this lovely person, and please share with us if you have any practices that help you in particular, and we'll see you next time.